Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Bill Evans, who says the German Stormtrooper Loadout. Primary is the MP18 submachine gun with the trench variant. Then we'll be using the P08 as our pistol. Gadget 1 is the AT rocket gun. Gadget 2 is the anti-tank grenades. For our grenade, we'll be using the standard grenade stick. And for melee, any blunt weapon. And then Bill goes on to say, you are part of an elite unit of German troops designed to shatter the lines of the Allies and raid the trenches. Play on a Western Front map operations and always be attacking. Go forth and charge into the enemy encampments and take out camping noobs. Thank you, Bill. Now this is a fairly basic loadout. All the weapons here are very easy to get, if not, I think, by default already unlocked or else unlocked very early on in the game. The MP18 is a fun little SMG. It's probably one of my least favorite SMGs, but it's still very good regardless. It's got great hipfire accuracy, which makes it very useful in getting on the point. Since gas is so prevalent, especially in operations game modes, having something that takes advantage of the hipfire mechanic will really put you at the advantage when you're in close quarters with gas everywhere. And although it's kind of hard to see, I am running with the custom PTFO weapon skin for the MP18, which you could have gotten during a week-long period. Who knows, maybe DICE will make it available in the future if you don't have this weapon skin. It is, however, so subtle that unless you're really looking for it, I doubt most people would even notice. Now, out of the three SMGs in the game, the MP18 is actually probably the most realistic weapon in terms of what you would expect to see on the battlefield. It was fairly widely used towards the end of the war by the German military for the purpose of clearing trenches and close quarter combat. Obviously, they needed some pretty effective close quarter weapons, and that's basically what this gun was entirely designed for. And despite really enjoying this SMG in Battlefield 1, it is still my least favorite of the three. The Automatico has that 900 round per minute rate of fire, making it insanely good in close quarters. The Hellriegel has a 650 round per minute rate of fire and a 60 round magazine. And then you've got the MP18, which has only got a 550 round per minute rate of fire and a 32 round magazine. So damage wise, it is the slowest damaging SMG in the game, but again, it's still pretty good overall. There's not a lot of other classes in the game that have really good close quarter weapons, so unless you're going up against an Automatico or a shotgun, there isn't a lot that's going to severely outdamage you. Now here we are on the second map of Operation Kaiserschlett Amiens, which is just such a great close quarter infantry map. Absolutely plays to the strengths of the assault class, and regardless of what assault weapon you're using, you're probably going to do all right on this map, provided that you've got a nose for flanking. I mean, that's what I'm doing right here and managing to get a lot of kills with people not even returning fire. Now, of course, we've got those anti-tank grenades, which are also anti-infantry grenades if you choose to use them as such. Often, if there is an enemy armor nearby, I will be throwing those into alleys or buildings, and they've gotten me a lot of kills. And in fact, room clearing is probably one of the most important things to do on this map. The fact that the assault class gets a standard frag grenade plus 2 anti-tank grenades, you can think of that as 3 anti-infantry grenades if you want, or just 1 anti-infantry grenade and 2 anti-armor grenades. Either way, you have a lot of tools at your disposal to deal with infantry. Even the anti-tank rocket gun is very effective at taking out infantry, especially those that are shooting out of windows of buildings or really far away. You can one-shot them with the anti-tank rocket gun if you're a decent shot. Now here we are at one of the most difficult sectors to take on Amiens. There's 3 flags, and the defending team really only has to keep at least one of those flags in conflict in order for them to stay in the game or stay in this sector of the game. And so pushing up is very difficult. You really have to work with your team by capturing all 3 of those points. As you can see, I just used the rocket gun there to take out somebody at range. We managed to push into close quarters here in the A building, and things always get intense in A. There's lots of grenades flying through these windows all the time. I've thrown grenades through here. That's how we cleared out the room in the first place. And now the objective is to push on to the other points, but we've already got so many people attacking this one room. It doesn't make sense to push on to the next point until you clear it out. And even after doing so, you really have to leave at least a few people behind to try and defend it. Luckily, you do get some good sector defense points for being on a capture point while killing enemies that are assaulting you. So there are benefits for staying on the points, but nothing that quite adds up to capturing a flag itself. You get so many points if you're being that player, running around between different points, capturing new flags repeatedly. And again, here I am using those anti-tank grenades in an anti-infantry method. Sure, we could be in a bit of a pickle if a tank comes by, but I don't see any on the mini-map right now. And we haven't been harassed in a little bit. So sometimes it just makes sense to really get those grenades out there and try and kill infantry. Your lifespan in this game is usually very short, so it can make a lot of sense to just get rid of your gadgets as quickly as possible in the attempts to try and clear out some infantry. Because if you die before you get a chance to use your anti-tank grenades against infantry, that's kind of a waste. You'll notice that I have my gas mask on a lot here, even when I'm not in gas. I really dislike gas in this game because the border at which you're getting hurt by it and which you're not being hurt by it is very obscure. It's hard to notice, especially when the gas is in a room below you or above you. You can often start to take damage from it when you can't even see it. So because the MP18 has such good hipfire potential, I just keep the gas mask on half the time when I'm in these really intense combat situations. Any little bit of damage taken by gas can certainly mean life or death. Now we're still fighting at the same sector. At one point we almost had it, then at another point we had no points left. This is a very, very difficult sector because you're trying to organize and coordinate your entire team of 32 players to disperse evenly among the points, or maybe put a few more guys on one point and a few less on the other point. The thing that really hurts it though is that once you capture a point, nobody really wants to stay behind and defend it. There's not a lot of points in it, there's not a lot of excitement in it, but it is incredibly important and key to moving on to the next stage. So it wasn't until we just got into a situation where naturally we were in a good place to defend the other 2 points and assault the final point that we were able to finally move on to the next sector. And in fact, capturing both C and B and then going for A finally is usually the way to go. A is one of the hardest points to actually hold because the enemy spawns so close to it, they can get back to it and capture it pretty quickly. B is pretty choke pointy, so it's very hard for the enemy to get in there, and C is usually far enough away that they won't be going for it unless they go for A or B first. So that philosophy worked. We actually didn't end up needing to rely on an armored train to come in and help us out and blow away their armor. So moving on to the final 2 points. These ones can be tricky as well because the enemy team has some pretty good defensive locations. What I find helps most when getting into these last points, especially the palace, is to really take down some of the walls on the side. You increase the opportunities that your team has to get in there, like the different angles you can attack from, and the enemy team can't really hide up or post up on the windows quite as much because they're just more exposed. So the AT rocket gun can be a very good tool for blowing holes in walls and making the enemy team feel like they actually don't have a lot of good cover. And of course, donning that gas mask at the end is extremely important because it's so close quarter and so insane with tons of grenades of all sorts that you may as well just have that gas mask on to begin with. Now, what I like about this loadout is that it really doesn't require a big investment to unlock all the weapons and gadgets here, and it's still very effective. I think DICE did a pretty good job about that with Battlefield 1, is making sure that all the basic guns and the basic kit complements can still be very good and very competitive. As you'll see at the end of the round here, I absolutely dominated and was way ahead of my team when it came to score. So having a good game sense, good techniques. If you watched my video yesterday that I talked about how to get first place in Battlefield 1, applying all of those tactics and stuff to even basic kits can easily get you a first place on the scoreboard. So overall, I do really like this loadout. I think the primary weapon is something that you could replace with something else out there. Once you start to refine your gameplay and understand your play style a little bit, you might prefer the Automatico, the Hellriegel, or even a shotgun. Those, I think, are generally speaking superior weapons, but as you can see, I was doing just fine with the MP18. And although I didn't really talk about the P08 sidearm too much, it's an okay sidearm. I'm always talking about the M1911 because I just think it is the best out there by far. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Loadout. Don't forget to leave your comments down below for next week's episode. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap signing out.